Welcome back, my dear friends throughout the universe. Today I want to talk about a topic that I've talked and ranted about before through different platforms, and that is early access. And I want to talk about a upcoming site called EarlyNinja, which I think could be a very great thing. And yeah, the topic of early access has been discussed widely, and the problems with it has been pointed out over and over again. So, it's not unknown that there is an issue with today's model of early access. It's not unknown that whether it's the developer's intention or not, that getting screwed over by purchasing games in early access has happened on several occasions and keeps happening to this day, leaving consumers with unfinished products or a product that was not the intended product in the first place. Mainly because there's no real requirement or sometimes even an incentive other than moral aspects and the goal of being respected as a developer to actually complete a game and move it out of early access and deliver on the promises that was made when the game went into early access. In this video I want to focus on potential ways to solve the issues with early access rather than just pointing out its obvious flaws. Because that I and many others have already done, and hopefully someone out there can take a thing or two from this video. And maybe you'll learn a thing or two as well. Or you can watch this and give your own opinion and add something that I did not talk about in the comments below. I would love you for it. So, if you're not a frequent consumer of video games, you may not have a clear picture of what early access is. So let me give you a short overview of what we are dealing with here. Through most development processes, a product has to go through different stages. Tests and prototypes have to be made in order to get a foundation to work from and work out any potential flaws before the release of the final product. In video game development, these stages are usually referred to as alpha or beta tests and stages. And without any extensive knowledge of how a game development is done in detail, but through my personal experience and very generally speaking, a game in a alpha stage of development could, for example, have the world you'll be playing in or parts of it finished, but the game itself is not yet optimized and have all the features and items and characters added to the game yet. Through the alpha development time, things get added into this new universe and it's slowly becoming the foundation for the final product. The beta stage may be more fine-tuning, performance tweaks, optimization tweaks, and the addition of the last final things that need to be added into the game before it can be called a final product. And this explanation is of course very general. This can take many shapes and forms and is of course not the case for every game development, but something similar is at least to be expected. Now, early access is a pretty new and actually a pretty young concept in the gaming market history-wise, and I would say that today it is accepted as common practice for developers, especially those that need that extra funding during the development process, like indie developers for example, or any game that needs that extra funding. And to define what it is, early access is you, the consumer, paying to become a alpha or a beta tester of a game to take part and support the development process and follow it firsthand and getting the final product once it's released. That's usually the case. Usually and hopefully you are paying to get a good experience through the development process as well as getting the finished product and a very polished finished product you can hope, in this case, to enjoy in the end. But for this to work, you would expect, like most things in life, whether it be education or a job, there has to be some sort of rules to follow for the developers, right? Some sort of milestones that the developers have to reach within a certain time frame to deliver what has been promised, right? I mean, if you have paid them to test their game out, you have paid for a future product, and you have paid for what the developers has promised that you should get in the end. Certainly there has to be some sort of frame set in place for the developers to follow in order to make you get your money's worth, right? Some actual way that if they just scrap the game in the middle of the alpha stage or take 3 years or 5 years even to deliver what was promised to take 2 months of development time, you would have some sort of protection as a consumer and get like refunded or something, right? Some little thing that maybe could... Nope. Right now, the only thing that you can hope for is that the developer has the intention to make a serious and promising future for their company, and by so work their hardest to deliver on every promise that they have made. But even that is sometimes not enough. Sometimes the money just run out, and even if they want to complete the game, they can't because they have no resources to complete the product with. And that's hoping that they survive the entire shitstorm that many early access games get because of their underperforming appearance thanks to the game being in development. A lot of people expect the game to be something that they can enjoy during the early access period, and that is not always the case, even though I personally want it to be. Generally speaking, from personal experience, more than not, I would say that you would encounter more frustration than fun by taking part in a game that is in early access. But I think the concept of early access is a great thing. I love having the options to take part of a development and to be able to support the developers during this process. But I don't think the current system of early access is beneficial to you as a consumer. At all. Thus, I would never recommend you buying an early access game as it is today. And sometimes the current system is not even beneficial to the developers themselves just because people are expecting an enjoyable ride through the development and may throw a tantrum if it's not. And that is why there has to be companies out there that want to create a platform that could help everyone involved in order to make this process as pleasant and a rewarding experience for everyone. The consumers, the developers, everyone. And right now, Valve and Steam are not really the ones to solve this. I mean, they could, if they wanted to. But right now, I have not seen any signs that this would be the case. So that's why I'm glad companies like the guys behind EarlyNinja exist. Whether EarlyNinja will be the solution or not, I can't say, but it is a step in the right direction. So, what is this EarlyNinja that I'm talking about? Is it actually a EarlyNinja? No, it's not. It's a website. EarlyNinja is a website that will provide a platform for developers to sell their early access games as well as you, the consumer, being able to purchase them. But in terms of payment, this site will work in a quite different way from what we are used to with platforms like Steam. The developers will only get the money you paid for their game when they reach certain promised milestones. And here's the nifty part. If the developers do not deliver the promised milestone updates within a reasonable amount of time, because maybe they drop the game or something else comes up along the way that has nothing to do with you, the consumer, the consumer, can request a refund for the unfinished parts and get your money back. Or move that cash into another developing project on the side, and by so only paying for the parts that are actually finished, securing a way for you to actually get your money's worth. Let's say that a game costs $10. The developer of the game you have purchased only reaches about 50% of the milestones that was promised at release before the product is dropped for some reason that has nothing to do with you, the consumer. Then you will have the chance to reuse about $5 into some other products or get a refund. This way you will have some extra protection when it comes to how your money is being used, and the developers will get an extra incentive to actually deliver their game's promised features in time. This will also be a great way for developers to make more accurate predictions when it comes to their revenue streams to their companies, as well as providing players with some added trust and security. Whatever happens in the future with EarlyNinja, whether if this platform is successful or not, this is the best, biggest, and first step I have seen anyone try to take in order to both support the developers and the consumers. Whether if this platform is successful or not, this is an incentive for other platforms to take actions to work out other models in order for early access to be a functioning business model that benefits both the developers and consumers. Whether this platform is successful or not, the fact that this is an issue that the developers themselves should not have to focus on or deal with, but the platform makers themselves should find fitting solutions for to help both the developers and consumers, is, in my opinion, the fact. I was reached out to talk about EarlyNinja by EarlyNinja themselves, and I hope them all the best. If they actually manage to pull this all together, the future of early access have never been as bright. Let's just hope, maybe not for EarlyNinja themselves, but that Valve and Steam and any other platforms that feature early access games follows by example. Do you think that EarlyNinja sounds like something right up your alley? Do you love the idea of early access like I do, but felt like you've been screwed over by early access games in the past, or do you simply want some added security when it comes to trying out new early access games, or purchasing early access games in general? Or maybe all of the above? Then go to the link in the description and join EarlyNinja today and get news about this project firsthand, as well as 5% off your first purchase from the site when that becomes viable. I have already done it, and I will try to continue supporting these guys, mainly because I think they are pushing the market in a direction I've wanted it to go in years. In the direction of you, in the direction of me, in the direction of us. So, alright, what do you think about the solution that I've talked about? Do you have any other way that you obviously would solve this issue with early access? Please let me know in the comments below and we can get a discussion going about this topic. It is a topic dear to me and will continue to be so even after all of this. So I hope it's for you as well, for the future of early access. Like and share if you enjoyed, and until next time. Bye.